There is a place in southwestern France that is an icon of carp fishing, a mecca, a shrine to the dinosaurs that live deep in its waters, a boiling pot of islands, snags and problems to solve, a place full of mystique and mystery that has already cemented its place in history. That place is Rainbow. And this is Ford Goes Fishing. We arrived around lunch on Saturday and quickly set our swims up for the week. Peg 16 has a lot of history and is home to the famous Brazilian tree and baby heads. It is a complex swim with an abundance of underwater features like sunken islands and a series of bars and plateaus. Depths range from 3 to 30 feet, so we had to spend a significant amount of time mapping our swims with sonar equipment. In hindsight, my Deeper Pro Plus was not up to the task, and mainly because the screen was difficult to read whilst piloting the boat. The weather we were expecting for the week was predominantly rain, with some breaks and sunshine towards the end of the week. We did not, at this stage, know how much the wind would play a part. The week before, plenty of fish had been caught around the lake, but the conditions were deteriorating during the week we were there. We finished the day with a curry lovingly created in advance by my good lady wife. Here he is, the main man himself.
We're getting there.
Getting there.
We are getting there.
It is Sunday, and welcome to Peg 16 of Rainbow. Well, what can I say? I'm standing in about 2 foot of water where the bivvy would normally be right now. That is how much it has rained here in this region, and it is it's challenging to say the least, but we're okay. Yesterday we arrived, we got set up. We got 2 rods out each, but we're here, we're at Rainbow. And let me tell you, it lives up to the mystique, the mystery, the icon that it is. It is unreal. I mean, look at the place. It's absolutely... yeah, lost for words really. So that's that. It's been raining all morning. Horrible rain actually. So we haven't gone out in the boats. The weather has been terrible, to be honest with you. So in terms of where we're sort of fishing, Toby has one off into the left hand margin, and then he's got one really long on the island just in a margin over there, and he's currently got one just kind of on a bit of a plateau in open water. Similar situation for me really. I've got 3 out. I've got 2 off the island, over there, directly over there. Got one across on the next island, and then I've got one just kind of open water really, just to see how that goes as well. So yep, all to play for. It's really our first full day here, let's be honest. And we'll see how we go, but it's looking good for it. The lake has done fish overnight. A 60 pounder came out. There was a bunch of other fish, mid-20s, 30s, 40s. So the fish are biting, the fish are feeding, but we just got to make it something happen. We've seen fish show in various areas of our swims. I've had fish show over baited spots. I've got 2 baited spots, one that I'm sort of baiting as a substitute for sort of middle of the week, and that has had a fish show on it, and I'm gagging to put a rod on it, but I'm going to hold off, I think, because I really want to use that as my banker. Had a similar situation at Talats. I was feeding a banker spot, and there were fish showing on it all the time, and I had to really sit on my hands. Lots to play for, but yeah, the place is unreal. So yeah. I've kept it quite simple bait wise for this trip. I don't want to overcomplicate things. You know, ultimately there are a lot of bream, there are a lot of bass and nuisance fish in here. So what I've done is I've kept it very, very simple, and I've basically gone with DNA bug. It's a bait that I trust, it's a bait that I love, so I've gone with bug, and we're gonna use that with some of the bug hydro wheat liquid as well, just to, you know, add some attractant in the water, but just keep it really, really simple. Don't overcomplicate things. The most complicated thing I've done is use 18mm boilies and a mix of 22mm boilies. So there's different sizes going on there. I haven't even crushed them up. I've left them whole because ultimately there's a lot of nuisance fishing here as well. And you know, I don't really want to be attracting too many of the smaller ones, because there's nothing worse than getting a bream at 2 o'clock in the morning when you've just spent, you know, a long time getting everything prepped and ready to go. So that's what I've done. I've kept it nice and simple, like I say, just using DNA bug. Got a lot of confidence in the bait. It's worked for me in the past. Had PBs on it, and yeah, using it here, I've got absolutely no issues. I know it's going to catch. As for the rest of the lake, seems quite quiet, not hearing much activity. Swim 18 doesn't seem to have done a fish. That did a fish at 2 o'clock this morning. I've not seen him out in the boat since. We had a bit of excitement. One of the rods that Toby just put out on his left hand side is going right up the back towards the island, past the channel, over a hook. No sooner had he got back and was put it on the alarm and was just sorting out the bobbin and stuff, the tip started bouncing, and yeah, when he got over there in the boat, there was nothing on the end. Again, it was possibly, you know, something pecking at the bait or a bream, and this is the problem that we're sort of faced with here, is kind of understanding what's a bite and what's a not. But yeah, all is good here. We're about to, or I'm about to cook a Sunday roast, which is very much a first for me on the bank, so it should be quite exciting. Welcome to a frankly wet, windy Baltic rainbow on Monday afternoon. We've had a bit of a chaotic morning, to be honest with you. We've Toby at first light had a bite. Unfortunately, he lost it in the snags. Carnage out there this morning. Toby's playing one. Looks like Lee's playing one. Looks like Toby's motor might have just given up. We had a lot of rain last night. The boats are soaking. And you know, it is what it is. It's one of those things. Unfortunately, lost it. Got up to it in the boat, but yeah, the hook pinged just at the netting stage. To be honest, yeah, it's probably only early to mid 20 common, I think. So, you know, as it goes, it's not a big loss, and you take the positives in the sense of, well, you know, at least we've had some action and we know that we're doing the right things. Then I thought, well, I took my leave to go and do some admin at the clubhouse, and when I came back, one of my rods was leant up against the bivvy, and my short line, which is in front of one of the channels in front of the baby, what they call the baby heads, that had gone off again. Sadly, hook pull on that. So yeah, we're still trying to sort of figure things out, but we're in a much better space than we were even yesterday. We've done really well, I think, to be getting bites this early on in the week, and we are still trying our best to try and get there, get a fish on the bank in the next sort of 24 hours. I think it'll happen. You know, we're seeing them showing. I've gone big on baiting now. I've probably got 30 kilograms in the water across 4 spots. So yeah, I'm hoping to be creating a bit of a zone for fish to come and feed on. All of my spots are in plateaus that are around sort of 10-12 feet in depth, and it's looking, you know, the fact that I've had one bite already suggests that I'm fairly comfortable with where I am. So yeah, we keep going, we keep trying, but for now we're still fishless on Monday. Toby was praying to the carp gods, but inadvertently prayed to the rain gods instead. Thankfully, the rain let off, just in time for me to catch my first ever rainbow fish. And here we are, my first ever rainbow fish. It's massive. It's a massive bream.
Size of the gobble on that would swallow 22 miller easy.
Oh, easy. There you go, pal. Off you go. Fly another day. Your boy has just had his first fish at Rainbow. And you know what? I don't even care that it was a bream. Don't care that it was a bream. 7.5 pounds. First fish at Rainbow. Not a carp, but it's validation that the rigs are working, that the baiting strategy has at least brought fish in. Not the intended species, but do you know what? I'm still happy. I'm not going away completely empty-handed this week. But nice little carp to come along and snaffle the bait up. But yeah, for now, happy Dan. Welcome to Rig Tying Corner with 4D, and it's a new feature, and welcome to my garden. Today we're going to tie the rig that I used at Rainbow to good effect, catch the carp. For the rig you'll need a splicing needle. It'd be really good if you can get the Fox Easy Splice, because that does make splicing a lot easier. I had one, I think I've left it at Rainbow. You need some spliceable material. In this instance, I've got Nash Klingon leader, but you can use any spliceable material. This one's in 40 pounds, so it's actually quite heavy, I would say, for what we're doing. But in terms of demonstrating the rig, it'll be absolutely fine. You need a kicker, a hook, bead or bait screw, angler's choice. You need a hook. Now in this instance I really favour a long shank curve, and these are from J Precision, but yeah, any hook that, you know, pattern that you prefer. The multi-rig kind of suits a multitude of rigs, so that's good. And an anti-tangle sleeve. So there's not actually a lot of components for this particular rig, and of course the all-important scissors. So to tie the rig, we need to take a length of the leader. I like to take, you know, more than 12 inches, probably 14, 15 inches. When you're splicing, you have to bear in mind that you're doubling over the material. You need at least 2 inches for it to be a strong splice. You need at least 2 inches inside the actual rig itself. So here you see, if we were to take 2 inches, that would be perfect for maybe the sort of the quick change end, but not so much for the hook end. So I think something along the lines of maybe 4 inches of tail gives you a good amount of material that's been spliced. Take your splicing needle, and you've got to insert it, and this is where the Fox Easy Splice comes into its own, because it doesn't get hung up on the material, and it does exactly what it says on the tin. The only real advantage with gate latch needles is the fact that you've got the gate latch itself, but what I try to do when I'm using the gate latch is I go in from the reverse and then flip it over like so, and then hopefully be able to push it in But the problem again with this is getting that needle moving. Right, once you've got it though, it's fine. You just got to work the material up steady and slowly. So once you've got your 2 inches, you push it through. I like to lick the end, just helps it go back in. That's what she said. And then you latch the end on with the gate latch and secure it shut. So. This is fiddly, and again with the easy splice, it's I'm not trying to sell it, but it does it really well. And then it's just a case of getting the end back through and putting it through. Now once it's through like that, you've got a loop. What you can do to keep it really tidy, if you're really and you have to be really gentle, is you can just tease that bit that you've just pulled in back through before you tighten it. And what will happen is this tail end that gets pulled through, it will disappear into that, making it really super neat. So we'll just pull that tight. See, I'm not budging that. That is not moving, so strong. It's almost witchcraft how it works. Next thing I like to do is I like to put the kicker on, and actually with the kicker sometimes it is easier just to thread it with a gate latch needle. Now one of the problems you get with this particular rig, or any kind of spliced rig, is that's quite a lot of material to get through the eye of a hook, and I'll show you a little trick on how you do that very shortly. It's quite clever. So the kicker will sit nicely over the top of the spliced material and just sit there. Allows us to get on with the other end, but before we do that, we'll get the anti-tangle sleeve and get that on as well. Obviously wrong way up, so that it's the right way up when it goes on. The other advantage of this rig is that it allows you to change the hook really easily. So another bonus for the rig itself. Right. So I'm just going to measure it up because I need to see how much of a tail I want here, and I probably want that much, which will allow me to identify where I am putting this in. And again, I'm just going to go in, use the actual hook to hook in, and then spin it over, trying not to pierce through the other side like I've just done. And then it's just a case of trying to work it in. The thing about splicing is patience, but once you get going, once you get it in and straight, it's fairly easy to pull it through. So just check my tail out there. We'll pop this through now, and then stick this on the end, give it a good wet, and then tease it through. There we go, and again that's come through perfect there. And again I just tidy up and pull tight. So then that's ready to be mounted onto the quick change swivel. Now here's the little tip I was talking about. So as you can see, the eye on the J Precision is quite large, but that's quite a lot of material to go through the eye. Now here's the tip. You need to get some bait floss, just a small amount. And of course the good thing about this is you can actually use it strap to mount your bait afterwards. Now, what you do is you put it through the big loop, like so. And then making sure you're going from the point end out, you insert through and then pull it. And it's as easy as that. It comes through lovely. And then fingers and thumbs there, you should just be able to, yeah, there we go. Pop it off. Before you stick it over the hook, put your micro ring swivel on, like so. Hook it over the hook. And of course, this boom section now is ready to go all the time. You just need to change the hook. And when you're using J Precision hooks, I'm sure many of you have used them before, it's usually one and done with those. Sometimes you can get away with a second fish, but just pop the kicker on. But what I've done is I've adjusted the D so it's right down perpendicular, is that the word? Parallel to the point of the hook, the barb, should I say. And then I'll just stick the kicker on over the top. And that holds everything in place. Just get that sat so it's at its correct kicker angle. And that is the finished rig. Absolutely deadly. Worked a treat. And I thoroughly recommend it. So, a little day 4 recap. Day 4? Tuesday, whatever day that is. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, yeah, day 4. You lose track of time when you're out fishing for a week. Time passes so slowly and yet so fast. It's odd. You're in like a vortex of time. Anyway, enough philosophy for today. So last night had a bream. It was about £7, so it was not a bad sized bream. But I'll tell you what, the mouth on it, these bream are clearly the successful ones are the ones with the big mouths. This one had a mouth that could easily have swallowed a 22mm hook bait, even probably a 24mm hook bait without any question at all. Now I hooked that on a snowman rig, so it was a hard hooker, 22mm bug hard hooker, and a pineapple isotonic pop-up from mainline slash gooed up. So that's where we are with it. We are going to put out my 4th rod. I haven't done it as yet. It's because I don't know if you can see, but the actual swim itself, where we've got 2 boats and we've had to put our rods really quite far out into the water, just because of the way that the kind of swim has kind of flooded in on itself. We haven't put 4 rods out because it just tightens the channel, and also we didn't see the opportunity for having a 4th rod out. But we're going to put the 4th rod out, and it's going to go extremely long. We're putting it out right out into the channel, the back channel, behind the islands. There's a snag. It's a known snag. It's right on the border of peg 16. No one else is fishing in that channel. The other pegs that would normally have access to that channel, they're all closed due to flooding. So it's a free-for-all for the carp at the moment, and it's time to put one up there. The only thing that's hampering us at the moment is the wind. We've got some pretty strong winds coming in from the west. That's bringing a lot of weather. We've had a lot of rain. Last night was probably the heaviest rain we've had all trip. It was absolutely mental. We've had rain again on and off all morning, quite heavy at times. And so it's been really difficult to kind of keep on top of our rods and stuff. In addition, I've lost one of my rods. I'm only fishing 2 at the moment because when Toby was out in the boat scouting the back channel this morning, I noticed that my right hand rod, which had a float on it, the float had drifted significantly from my actual spot. What's happened is something down on the bottom has just gone straight through the snag leader. Like I don't know what it is. Obviously, we had a lot of wind and rain last night, so I think the float's probably pulled the rig across something really sharp, and it's severed the rig. So I've pulled that in and re-prepped it, but again, I'm just waiting for a break in the wind and the wind gusts specifically. At the moment, the wind sustained is about 15 to 20 mile an hour. Gusts up to about 30 or 40, so it's not really conducive to getting out in the boat. You're getting blown around all over the place, and you want to be presenting your rig accurately. And again, my boat confidence isn't brilliant, so I don't see an advantage in me going out with a lack of confidence in what I'm doing in the boat, and potentially putting my rig in a spot that isn't where it needs to be. But we've done really well so far, I think. We're starting to see fish show over all of our areas now. I think the baiting strategy is beginning to work, and we are starting to see not results, obviously, because we haven't had any carp on the bank, but we're certainly seeing fish in the areas we want to be seeing them. So hopeful for tonight going into tomorrow. Tomorrow is a full moon. It's Thursday. It's Big Fish Thursday, and it's a full moon. I mean, you couldn't write it any better in terms of astronomical alignment. So that's where we are. The takeaway that I would have from fishing here is it's a constant learning process, a constant adaptation of wanting to change things, move things around, and just evolve. It's a real evolution of angling. Really, it's totally different to anything you do anywhere else, I think. And you really have to think on your feet as well and solve problems. Toby's had issues with his boat, especially after it's rained. I don't know whether there's a grounding problem or something, but basically the prop gave out on him. It's given out on him again this morning, so there's a lot of rods to redo, but we're just waiting for a weather window to do them, because we're, unfortunately, the way the wind's blowing is we're right into the face of it. But behind the baby head islands, there's absolutely nothing. It looks really calm out there, almost lagoon-like, so definitely need to get a rod in there, because I think a lot of fish are going to be held up and chilling. So that's where we are, all to play for. But some positives to take. I know it's only a bream, but I take that as a positive, because where there's bream, there's carp. Where there's bream, there's carp. Where there's bream, there's carp.
1 hour later.
Definitely a team. Look, any fish at this point is a team game.
Mr. Bug doing the trick.
Ploddy.
Yeah.
Powerful. At least didn't wait until after the rain. Trying to be over here because I'm conscious of that snag. Might make it dive, but
They said Tuesday's always the kick-off day on here in this swim.
that is on.
Where is he in line with that dead tree there?
Yeah.
Is he in there? So we think he may have dived into here. So I'll wait for the green light. I'll get the boat out ready for him.
I think I've got him out.
for that, just battling with a landing net. You do you. The lead should be just about where I am now. Keep the net nice and low. Is it a mirror? Yeah, all nice shoulders on it. Right, just go, walk behind me. Walk behind me, just walk backwards. Keep going. No, no, got it. Oh, no. I won't say anything, we'll just leave him in peace for 2 minutes. Yeah, I won't say any more.
Whenever you lose a nice carp, it always hurts. But it hurts more when you lose the fish at the net, and seeing the size of it would definitely have been my new PB. It's easy to get despondent in these situations, but you have to reflect and learn from any mistakes you made. In this instance, I think I had too tight a line at the netting stage and the hook pinged out. However, there is no time to dwell on past mistakes. You have to pick yourself up, have a brew, and go again. It certainly showed my tactics were paying off. There were no other signs as we crawled into bed, so I was less than hopeful as we went into Tuesday night. But then, he may only be a small one. Oh. He's lively and angry, but this is my first rainbow carp, and I couldn't be happier. That fish came from the spot I'd caught the bream and lost the bigger carp from on a 10-foot plateau in front of the channel between the 2nd and 3rd Babyhead Islands. He was caught using two 22mm bug hard hookers, and I was able to fight it from the bank. Aside from that flurry of activity early in the morning where Toby also lost a fish, possibly a bream, the rest of the day was largely unremarkable. We had to endure more rain and showers in the morning, but in the afternoon the weather cleared and it was sunny, probably for the first time properly that week, so we sat out and enjoyed ourselves. And then, Thursday morning, first thing, Toby's rods roared into life. She's dialed, she's zeroed.
Oh, £5 for the net?
Yeah. That's ooh, it's £35.
30,
No,
32,
33, 33 and a half.
33.
33.4.
Cool.
I reckon. And now we head over to Tobes, who's going to show us how to put a rod out at Rainbow.
Off we go. It's going to be a bit of a difficult one because we're in the wind. Wind's pushing us, so we need to get kind of in the wind to the spot. And what I'll try and do is drift into the spot that I want to go on. Now this spot I had a rod on it for a day or 2 days. It's got old bait down there, yes, if the bait's still there now. So I've rested it for a couple of days. We're on the last 24 hours. All my actions come from the island, so I've literally laid all my cards down now. 6, 7 bites, 1 bream, lost an absolute lump yesterday, cut me off. Somewhere here, there's like a real shallow bit, goes 4 or 5 foot. That's a guess anyway, because it was at night, but here we go. So I've got one over, I now call this over there, the sunken Brazilian now. I've got one in there, that's where I've had all my fun. So we're coming round, My other little spot is just here. Slow it down, into the wind, ease the power, turn the power off, slowly back her in. Let's have a look. Cameras, see if the camera's panning that. See how quick the wind is, it just spins you straight around. Bloody powerful, this machine. Still getting, that's the first time I've used it, so you know, getting used to it. So 7-8 feet here. Not a lot. I'll just let the thing settle down. Let's have a look to see where. Yeah. Okay, 10 foot. It's all a little bit scraggly. Big log down here, look. This is what we're dealing with. This is standard procedures in Rainbow. Now we're getting a bit more of a firmer bottom. See, now I've settled down a bit. I think the propeller has a bit of a say in it, you know. I'm convinced. So we'll put the proper munger out there in a minute. So I'm going to spin my way around. People have been catching them in literally inches deep, but I don't think it's safe here. There's just too much undergrowth. Personally, I just think it's too much. I think you've got to balance it with the edge of safety. I mean, the rig is short, bang, nailed, heavy leads. Yeah, let's just spin around. So now I'm going to have a look at my little spot again. Drifting down. Bit of the old mungwa. Stinks. This cloud that I've done is also a good help for me to gauge my spot. You can see how snaggy this place is. This is nothing. It literally will test you to the nth degree, this place. Just check the hook point. Oh, mate. See, one thing in this is not to panic, not to rush. I'm in a dead area, as in it's nice and flat here, kind of wedged in a little bit now, but that's fine. It's alright, oh, it's not to panic. So I'm just checking so I can get. Okay. And then one last blop of Munger, Toby's Vindaloo mix on top. Make it look so easy, don't they, the pros? So now comes the next bit. We're going to put her on a hook over there. So that's 12-13 feet of water, 10-foot rod, slow her down, coming up to a hook. There's Dan's float, he's gambling out there for the last 24 hours. There you go, on the hook. Oh, it was. That happens and it comes off, then just reverse up. And then rot it forward, over she goes. Just check. And that's it. So now we just, some people stand up, some people sit down. The seasoned pros are well better at it than me. And now we're just getting the wind a bit, more power. Into the wind. Sit down now so I'm less of a sail of the wind. The main aim on these things is not to panic. Just take your time. Take your time. No rush. Accidents happen and get tangles and all the yeah. When you bait work, just don't rush. That's my advice, and I'm no experience. It's only my second time doing this shenanigans. That's what I've learnt myself is not to rush.
Our last night at Rainbow was a beautiful one. Flat calm, absolutely stunning. And Toby managed to winkle out a low 20 common just on last light. As we woke up to a stunning dawn on Friday, the lake had one last surprise. A 25-pound common carp for me. Possibly one of the most picturesque mornings I've seen in a long time on the lakeside. And that was it. And just like that, the trip was over. And we were packing down our rods, getting all of our equipment back in, and washing the boats down ready to leave on our 7-hour journey back to Dieppe. Oh, hi. You may notice I'm no longer at Rainbow. I'm actually at home editing the video, and it occurred to me that I have yet to do a proper conclusion. I didn't manage to get it done on the bank because we were in a bit of a rush to leave on the Friday. So here's my conclusion. When I look back at the footage, there's a few things that really sort of jump out at me. Firstly, I just want to say Rainbow is a hell of a lake. If you ever get the chance to go, and I know it's one of those lakes that's super exclusive, I think you should do it. Just because it will really elevate your angling. It will really make you think about how you angle, how you fish, your methods, your tactics. Even though it's very different there and you're doing a lot of different things to what you would do day to day, the way that you apply yourself the precision, all of those things will elevate your angling anywhere else in the world. In hindsight, having been back from Rainbow, having reflected on everything, a couple of things we did wrong during the trip, both myself and Toby. I think we tried to overextend ourselves a little bit. We were very jumpy with our spots. We didn't give them enough time to develop. And this rang true because Toby caught his fish off of a spot he started at right at the start of the week and then pulled off midweek. Same with me. It was all of my fish came from a spot which I had been using all week. I'd always had a rig on it. I had the most bait in the game there. I baited heavily. So I think on balance, when I look back at what we were doing, one thing I would do is stick to my spots. And again, I know that's something that I could have been critical about myself during Gigantica. John and I chopped and changed our spots a lot during Gigantica. Instead of sticking with our spots and trying to build up baiting, I think that's slightly different in the sense of that was in February and we were trying to find the fish and get bait to the fish rather than bring the fish to us. But the principles are the same. That's probably the biggest thing. I mean, the other thing I would probably like to do more of is a bit more boat work. Obviously, it's quite difficult in the UK. There's not many waters that allow boats. So we might have to do more French trips, but I'd like to build up a bit more boat confidence and use the boat more. I'd like to get a dedicated fish finder, which means spending more money, specifically for the boat. I do own a boat now, outright. So I'm hoping to join a syndicate which does allow boats locally, and that will improve my angling when it comes to boat work. Outside of that, I think, again, we neglected the far end of the swim because it was quite a complicated set of events to get there, over hooks, round islands, into snags. And as a result, we put a rig out quite late. I think next time we would probably go down the route of getting on that earlier, just having the confidence to get on that earlier. Other than that, I mean, in terms of the trip itself, we had between us 4 carp. Biggest was 33 pounds. We had 2 bream. No, we had 3 bream. I apologise to one of the bream. And in total, we had 17 bites. So it goes to show that it's so difficult to extract the fish out of that water. We didn't connect with all of the fish. We had the bites, but they came to nothing. We lost probably 5 fish that we were actually playing. And of course, I probably lost my PB. So that did hurt. That smarted a bit. I think one of the things that I would say about Rainbow is it can be really intimidating going there for the first time. From the moment you walk into the clubhouse and you see Max and Pascal there, they're lovely guys. The other anglers, some you might recognise, some you might not. All different nationalities, but all very, very friendly, very, very free with their advice. Obviously, you can take as much or as leave as much as you want, but a lot of these anglers, this isn't their first rodeo there. So I think probably listen to them, but don't be intimidated by the place. It is extremely challenging, yes, but there is a great support network around the lake week in, week out to help you and guide you. And typically when you go there for the first time, you're going with someone that's been before, so they will hopefully help you on your journey as well. In terms of the lake itself and the sort of the way that Max and Pascal operate, the place is immaculate, and it's clear that everyone that fishes there has a lot of respect for the place. I think ultimately, if you don't have a lot of respect for the place, you won't get the opportunity to fish there again. So everything is very, very clean. Everything is prim and proper. That said, you see Max daily when he's dropping around your bread and croissants that you've ordered for the week. But other than that, really, you're left to your own devices. The rules of the lake are very sensible. They're not overbearing. They're not. They don't limit or restrict you in any way. And they're just sensible rules that are there to protect the lake, protect the fish, protect the angler, and protect the local environment, which is woodland. There's been a few forest fires in recent years there. No fires, no barbecues. I mean, it's obvious, but people will try and bend the rules. And I think finally, the final point I would make about Rainbow is you can really go there with a perception that you need to overcomplicate the rigs. Yes, we did have the whole float game going on. We were over hooks and stuff towards the end. But all of my fish came from an open water spot with the rig that I showed you earlier on a single 8-ounce lead dropped from the boat on a 10-foot plateau with bait around it. It's no different to how you would fish anywhere else, any other venue. Potentially, you wouldn't use an 8-ounce lead. You might be using a 4-ounce lead. You might not be using 12 inches of rig. But actually, again, one of the things that wasn't apparent in the video, Toby actually shortened his rigs down to about 9 inches, whereas I kept mine quite long. And as soon as he did that, that's when he started catching his fish. So, again, these are things you can tweak and improve on as the week progresses, and you adapt and overcome. But the key takeaway that I have from Rainbow is, watching the other videos, I went in really fearful of having to properly work out how to do all these weird and wonderful rigs, but actually I kept it super simple and I caught. Would I have liked to have caught more? Would I have liked to caught bigger fish? Of course, I'm not an angler if I didn't. But I would say that I'm super happy with how I fished. It pushed the boundaries enough for me without being unsafe for myself, the fish, or the other anglers on the lake. In terms of costs, I don't want to dwell too much on them. I won't go into specific figures, but you've got to consider things like the price of the venue, which obviously changes year in, year out. You've got the cost of a ferry, which again, depending on the time of year, or tunnel crossing. We actually came down the night before, so we stayed in a hotel. In terms of the amount of bait I used 60 kilograms of bait. So again, you might be able to get a deal on bait. I don't know. So that cost is your own. But I think certainly at the business end of the year, around spawning time, you definitely want to be taking a lot of bait. Boilie only approach. Obviously, I was using a liquid as well. I think you are allowed to use pellets, but I don't think anyone really does, on the basis that you just attract too many bream. Other costs, I mean, you've got things like floats, which you may never use again. You've got H blocks, mark poles, that sort of thing that is not something that's in everyone's normal armoury. You've got solar line biters, which are critical, especially if you're out in the boat and you're trying to figure out where your line is in the water. Even things like fluorescent tape around your poles, using storm poles. Most people have rod pods these days, or singles that are quite low to the ground, but you need big, strong, tall poles. And I would say poles over something like a Skyliner type Europod, just because you've got that flexibility there. You'll need a decent, strong, heavy bobbin, whatever flavour you like. I used the Fox Swinger, but you could use whatever one that suits your fancy, as long as it's heavy, because you want to be keeping that line tight. Other costs, tolls are about €200 from. We went from Dieppe, so €200 ish on tolls, and it's 2 tanks of van fuel there and back. It's a 7-hour drive down. So I hope that gives you some idea of the kind of costings that might be involved. It wasn't a cheap trip for me, to be honest. So with all that being said, please drop a like on the video and hit that subscribe button. It will really, really help the channel out, and ultimately help me out as well. But I think all that remains for me to say is, for now, ciao.